All right, today we are doing chapter 7, lesson 3. We're going to be dealing with triangles. Before you guys freak out and start writing these down, don't. These are what we're going to be covering in this lesson. Acute triangle, right triangle, obtuse triangle, scalene triangle, isosceles triangle, equilateral triangle, triangle, and congruent segments. Before we move on, these three are new words, so we're all going to practice saying them because the other two classes, good Lord, could not say these. So, repeat after me. Scalene. Isosceles. Equilateral. These are types of classifications of triangles. Please make sure you spell them correctly. So put them in your notes when we get to that point and make sure you're saying them correctly. We have one other math symbol, which is just a little triangle, which will represent what, ladies and gentlemen? Duh. So, real world link. Julia practiced jumping on a ski ramp. The front of the ramp is like a triangle shown below. Here's the ramp. What do we notice just looking at the ramp? What do we notice? Zorwar. There's a right angle. So we're looking at the angles. There's one that's a right angle. What else do we notice, Brody? Okay, there's an 80-degree angle, which is what type of angle, ladies and gentlemen? Acute. And this one, we don't know the measurement, but we can tell by looking at it that it's an acute angle. Amp Up Group has already done this, so we're going to have Amp Up Group just kind of monitor. I need each group to work together and draw a triangle that has an obtuse angle. At least one obtuse angle. Go. Anybody want to come up and try to draw an obtuse triangle? Brody. Okay. I'll draw it again. You're the first one all day that was able to draw somewhat of an obtuse triangle. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up. But Brody gave me an obtuse angle here. That looks more like a right angle. That's more of an obtuse angle. So, here is an obtuse triangle. What do we notice about the obtuse triangle, first of all? One, it has an obtuse angle. What do we notice about the other two angles? So, they're both acute angles. We'll touch on this later on, but there's a reason for this. Is there a way to draw a triangle with two obtuse angles, ladies and gentlemen? No. Why? Oh. B. Okay. So let's try. Here's my obtuse angle, right? Let's make this one another obtuse angle. I can't connect it now, right? What's the definition of a triangle? Oh, I didn't say ladies and gentlemen. You guys are really dropping the ball today. Zorwar. It has to have 3 sides. This has 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 0 chance of me having a triangle with 2 obtuse angles. The same goes for right angles. Triangle cannot have more than 1 obtuse or right triangle. Put that in your notes. A triangle cannot have more than 1 obtuse or more than 1 right angle. Again, a triangle cannot have more than 1 obtuse or right angle. I'm going to pause the recording really. This needs to be in your notes for sure. You guys can either cut this out of your textbook or you guys can copy this down. These are the classifications of triangles. So, you'll notice they're split into 2 different rows. The top row is triangles identified by the third angle, and I'll explain that in a little bit. And the bottom row is triangles identified by any idea that's not in my Amp Up group? Saul? Their sides. So if we look up here, an acute triangle has all 3 angles as acute. A right triangle has 1 right angle, and you notice the other 2 are what, ladies and gentlemen? Acute. And then obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle, and the other two are? All triangles have two acute angles, at least. When I say by the third angle, I mean the third angle. This is the third angle right here. Acute, 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 acute. Here's your obtuse angle, the third. Acute, acute, and in this case, the third one will also be acute because it's an acute triangle. So you identify the classification of the triangle by looking at the angles, or specifically the third angle. That'll tell you the classification, the first classification. The second classification can be done by looking at their sides. This one is telling us that there are no congruent sides. What does congruent mean again, ladies and gentlemen? They're equal. So if I say a congruent side, what do you think that means? Okay, well, if sides are congruent, those sides are equal. They don't have to all be equal, but I'm saying if two sides are congruent, they're equal. So this one's saying there's no congruent sides, which means that all of the sides are what then? It's recording. If none of the sides are congruent, this means that all three sides are what, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, if these are not congruent, that means all three sides are what? Different. They're all different measurements. So if a triangle has three different measurements, that type of triangle is a scalene triangle. Not a J-lean triangle, a scalene triangle. Who said J-lean over there? I'm trying to name a triangle after you. Shh. An isosceles triangle has two sides that are the same, or two congruent sides. You'll notice this by these little lines that they draw in the triangle. If one side has this line and the other side has the same line, they're little markings, that means they're both the same. That's one way of identifying the sides. What would be the other way of identifying what the sides are? Brody. No, we're looking at the sides. We're looking at the sides. How can I tell? What's another way of marking them to tell you what they are? Think outside the box, ladies and gentlemen. We can do that. So I can do two lines here to show that that's different. But, I mean, what's another way? Instead of doing lines, how can I show what each side is? Yeah, add the measurements. So I can say that this is 7 inches. This side is also 7 inches. This side would be 5 inches. That shows that this side and this side are the same measurement, meaning they are, ladies and gentlemen, congruent. Again, an isosceles triangle is if two sides are the same. Now, if all three sides are the same, they are an equilateral triangle. That means that all three sides are equal. It's an equilateral triangle. Now, remember, a triangle will be a classification from each box, okay? Triangle can have two classifications. There's one time that you may not be able to identify it. Which one do you think we can identify? Which one do you think would be a little bit harder to identify? The top one or the bottom one, ladies and gentlemen? Bottom. If we don't have enough information, we may not be able to identify the sides. Because again, we can't just go based on looks. We go based on the facts that we know. Now, this one here is telling us they are not equal. But at first look, at first glance, can you tell that they're not all three equal? I can't. This one, this side, and this side look like they could be equal, right? They're close. Okay, so again, well, if you put them together, okay. So we can't tell if we don't have enough information. So here's your little mini quiz with your group. You guys are going to give me the two classifications of this triangle? Talk with your group. And remember, you have to justify why. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. No more talking. I want people that need to earn their participation today. So if I have not heard from you yet, this is where you start volunteering. I need one classification. Dominic. Okay. Whoa. Try that again. A right what? So what type of triangle is it? There you go. Remember, you have to identify it as a triangle. This is a right, and instead of writing out the word triangle, this is where I can use a little symbol and just put this. So it's a right triangle, and then Gerline, what's the other classification? This is an isosceles triangle. Why is it a right triangle, Dominic? That identifies it as a right angle, so there we go. And Gerline, why is it an isosceles triangle? Two of the sides are the same. This side and this side. The other side's not the same, right? Why? It has 2 lines over here, which means not the same length as the other 2. Therefore, isosceles checks off. It is a right triangle and an isosceles triangle. Whoever's whistling, I'm not telling you guys this again. That's your nose? That's legit your nose. Do you have a deviated septum? Can you breathe out of both nostrils? No. Okay. Yeah, you may want to see a doctor because that means the bridge of your nose isn't straight, which is what causes that. It could be problematic later. You may want to talk to your mom and let her know. For real. I'm being serious. Like, that can be an issue. Okay. Shh. Okay, well, good to know. Now I know what that noise is. Okay. I'm going to give you guys one more example. Let's see. Okay, you've got your enough information. Talk to your group. What type of 2 classifications is this? Go. Hopefully that's a little bit better. No, it wasn't. It was a little bit off. No, it was not. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I need volunteers that have not heard from today. Otherwise, I am going to be picking victims. Tucker, give me one of them. Why? Okay, it's a scalene triangle, as we can tell. This is 13 yards, this is 12 yards, and this is 7 yards. None of the sides are the same, so the scalene checks off. And Skylar, give me another one. It is an obtuse triangle. You can tell by the obtuse measurement right here, that's bigger than 90 degrees. So that checks off. These are the types of questions that are going to be thrown at you. I'm going to give you guys one last one. And we're not working with our groups. You guys are going to volunteer. All right. Give me the classification, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody knows the obvious one. What type of triangle is this? Right triangle. Okay. Shh. And based on the sides, do I have enough information here? Okay. I don't. There are no indicators here on the sides. Yes, you can look at it and kind of assume. I mean, you can even try to like cut it and have this side here come down, and you would say it may be a little longer than that other side. Maybe it's not. Who knows? But here's the deal. We don't know 1,000% for sure yet because we have not learned this. We have not learned that a right triangle has two sides that are not the same or two sides that are the same. We don't know. So based on this, we can say it's a right triangle, and then we can do process of elimination. So if this is on your test, this is going to be extra credit. 1, this is a right triangle. 2, what type of triangle is it not going to be just by looking at it? I'm looking for kids that I've not heard from yet. I've heard from you already. Izzy, what type of triangle do we know it's not going to be? It is not going to be equilateral because guess what? This side and this side are completely different just by looking at it. There's no way those two sides are equal. So, based on the information given on your test, an answer like this, it's a right triangle and not enough information given to find out the other classification, but based on looking at it, you know it's not going to be an equilateral triangle. So it's going to either be an isosceles triangle or it's going to be a scalene triangle. We just don't know until we have more information. So that will give you extra credit. You don't have to do all of that. You can literally just put not equilateral because of this side and this side, and then put possibly isosceles, possibly scalene. Everybody understands the classifications now, yes? Okay. Again, this table here should be in your notes. You guys can add this in later once I'm done. This part definitely needs to be in your notes, either in your own words or copy it down word for word. A triangle, so these are going to be the characteristics of a triangle. You guys should know this backwards and forwards because guess what? I may ask you guys on a test. The triangle is a figure with 3 sides and 3 angles. Duh. You guys should know this. 3 sides and 3 angles. The symbol for triangle is literally a triangle. Every triangle has at least 2 what, ladies and gentlemen? Acute angles. One way you can classify a triangle is by using the third angle, like we talked about. 2 of them are acute. Look at the third. If it's acute, then it's an acute triangle. If it's obtuse, it's an obtuse triangle. If it's a right angle, it's a right triangle. Another way to classify triangles is by looking at their sides. Again, sides with the same length are called congruent segments. It's another vocab term. So that is the correct vocabulary when I talk about equal sides. Sides are congruent, or you refer to them as congruent segments. So you should know all of these parts. Again, triangle has 3 sides, 3 angles. A triangle, all triangles have at least 2 what, ladies and gentlemen? Acute angles. You guys should know that one because I'm going to put the emphasis on that one. That one more than likely will show up on your test. And what are the 2 ways you can classify triangles, ladies and gentlemen? By looking at their what? I heard sides and looking at the third angle. You can look at all 3, but specifically that third one's going to tell you. Because remember, there's 2 acute ones for sure. That third one's going to tell you what other type of it is. Okay. That's acute, right? That's the third one. That's acute, that's acute. That's the third one. This one doesn't matter because all 3 are acute. That's acute, that's acute. Oh, the other one's acute too. Cool. They're all 3 acute. So that's how you can tell by the third one. Look for the right angle. If you see the right angle symbol, boom, you already know what it is. And if you see that wide angle, you already know it's obtuse. And if you see all 3 of them small, they're all acute. This is going to be real easy to tell. This one, not so much, especially if you don't have the measurements there or indicators. Okay, so far this table and this definition need to be in your notes. And here is your guys' group challenge. Draw a triangle that satisfies the set of conditions below, then classify the triangle. So it wants you to draw out the triangle, and it also wants you to give the classifications. Your directions are a triangle with 1 right angle and 2 congruent sides. As a group, go. So you guys are going to draw this triangle out. So obviously, your triangle has to be what type of triangle? Right triangle. So you should look something like this. Now, I'm going to ask specific groups. How did you guys decide to show that two sides were congruent? How did you do it? Finish up your sentence. The little dashes?
Yeah, I put two on that side.
Hi. Okay, go for it. It's the 2 button that doesn't work. No.
And then I put two on the edges and one on that, yeah.
Okay, so this is a good indicator to show that two sides are congruent, the other side is not. What would be the other one, ladies and gentlemen? Putting measurements, and your two sides would have to be measured the same. So before we move on, I'm just going to leave these here because it's the easier one. You're supposed to classify them, right? So what was one classification? I'm looking for people that want to earn their participation points. This group's been real quiet. So is this group. Somebody hasn't talked yet. Give me one classification. 2 button doesn't work? Yeah. Okay. Do you know when they're going to replace it?
I'm supposed to take it back to them, and then we'll give you a replacement. I'll bring it in by hopefully tomorrow.
Okay. Will I be without a phone then, or
No.
they'll take it after school?
Yeah.
Do you want me to drop it off somewhere? Or?
No, I'll come back
Okay.
tomorrow, and I'll swap it up for you.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So I need one of these 2 groups that are quiet. Somebody needs to earn their points today. Give me one of the 2 classifications. There we go. So it's a right triangle. That's one classification. And Maddie. It's an isosceles triangle. Because 2 sides are the same. All right, and now we're getting into the math portion of it. Because a lot of this was just seeing, identifying. Now we're going to get into numbers. Actually, before we do that, let's try this one. Here's a roof of a house. Let's classify this triangle. I'm going to pick on random people that have been quiet. Abby, give me one classification of this triangle. Okay, we all agree? It's an obtuse triangle based on the angle up here. This is obtuse. And Melanie, give me the other one. The other classification. It's an obtuse triangle. It can't be acute if it's already obtuse. Remember, 1 from each row, so acute and right are eliminated. Don't give her the answer. Okay. Dominic, since you know the answer so much and you're yelling it out loud, what is it? Oh, then what are we yelling at her? Ladies and gentlemen, what type of triangle is this? It is identified right here by these 2 lines that these are the same. Therefore, this is an isosceles triangle, and it is also an obtuse triangle. And last but not least, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, what type of triangle is this? Can we tell based on the sides? Not enough information here, so really quickly, what can we eliminate? Brody, thanks for raising our hand. We can eliminate equilateral triangle because we already know for sure this side and this side are definitely not equal, but this side and this side still technically could. We're not going to get into the minutia of it. We don't have enough information. Therefore, we can just say it's a right triangle and we can eliminate for sure not equilateral. Now we get into the numbers. This needs to be in your notes for absolutely sure. The sum of the measure of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. Another way of saying it is if you add all 3 angles in a triangle, they will all add up to 180 degrees. The reason why you know this is because you're going to be getting one missing angle and you're going to solve for it. Yay! So again, the sum of all 3 angles in a triangle should equal 180 degrees. The formula is written right here. It's x plus y plus z equals 180. Another way of saying it is measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 plus measure of angle 3 is 180 degrees. You need this whole thing in your notes. You can cut it out, paste it, tape it, glue it, whatever, or just copy it down, but I am going to be moving on because we're running out of time. You can go copy this down off of OneNote. Here is our example. We have, so there's two different ways that you can identify a missing angle. One, there will be a variable there. Or two, if there's no variable, like this one, this is our missing angle, right? We would refer to this one as measure of angle Z. That's our missing angle. Your answer will be measure of angle Z equals and whatever it is to the degrees. Are we clear? This is how we should write our answer. So instead of using a variable, I'm just going to use measure of angle Z in my equation. Who can tell me the algebraic equation to help solve our missing angle? Jason. We need to use the numbers. Missing one other thing. Brody, help him out.
So it's 119 degrees plus 43 degrees plus 7 degrees equals 180.
Nope. We're missing one thing. Okay. Plus measure of angle Z equals, ladies and gentlemen, 180. So I have to do an algebraic equation and I have to solve this. This is how every single one of your steps on your homework should look like. There are going to be 3 steps. Step number 1 is writing out all 3 sides, adding together equaling 180. This was measure of angle 1, measure of angle 2. This is measure of angle Z or measure of angle 3 equals 180 degrees. When you add all 3 angles together, it should equal 180 degrees. The one we don't know is measure of angle Z. We don't know what that value is. So that's basically our variable. Your first step is to combine these two, because otherwise you're making 2 moves and it's just easier if we combine them. So 119 plus 43. Everyone's going to help me with this math. 9 plus 3. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 4. And 1 plus nothing. So my new equation will be 162 plus measure of angle Z equals 180. Who can tell me what my very next step is going to need to be? Andre. To which one? 180 minus 162. I have to get rid of this 162 from both sides. This will cancel out. I will now have my answer. Measure of angle Z will equal, and you guys are going to help me out. Can I do 0 minus 2? What do I need to do? Oh, I didn't say ladies and gentlemen. Gurleen. That'll become. And this will become. What's 10 minus 2, everyone? What's 7 minus 6? What's 1 minus 1? Guess what? The measure of angle Z must be 18 degrees. This is how your answer needs to look. 1, you need to have measure of angle Z in your answer for sure. And 2, the correct number. And 3, what's the last one? What's the last thing that needs to be there? Degrees. If you tell me the measure of angle Z is 18, is your question right or wrong, ladies and gentlemen? It needs to be 18 degrees. And if we look at the textbook, I hid it on purpose. They did exactly what we did. So again, 3 steps in your homework. Number 1, write out all 3 sides equal 180. Step number 2, combine 2 of those sides. These 2 right here were combined to make 162. Step 3, is to remove the constant from both sides, and that will give you what your variable equals. As long as your variable is not like 2x or 3x or something else is happening to it, then it'll be a fourth step. If it's just a missing side, nothing else fancy to it, it'll literally be 3 steps. Are we clear? Now, I know some of us can combine the 2 angles in our head. That's not what I want on your homework. Show all 3 angles adding together equals 180. Combine the 2 in your second one, move that over, and there's your answer. This is what I would like on your homework and on your test. Here's your challenge. Now, not always you're going to have it drawn out. This one says, in triangle ABC, if measure A is 25 degrees, measure B is 108 degrees, what is measure C? With your group, solve it. Go. What is the answer to our challenge question? Okay, so thank you for saying it correctly. Okay, so should have been 25 degrees plus, nobody should be talking right now, 108 plus, we were trying to figure out what measure of angle C is, equals 180. What would be my next step? So there's step 1. Step 2 would be to... What are they known as? I'm looking for the correct vocab. Okay, like terms is one of them, but what are they both known as, Brody? Individually, what are they? We need to combine the 2 constants together. That will give me 108 plus 25. Everybody help me out. 8 plus 5? 1 plus 0 plus 2? 1 plus nothing? So this will be 133 plus measure of angle C equals 180. What is my next step? I'm looking for hands that I've not seen today. Elbow, I haven't heard from you. What's my next step? Zorowar, wake up. What's my next step? To which number? Okay, so what do I do? So I have to do it to both sides. That'll cancel out. Minus 133 here. My answer will be measure of angle C will equal whatever this equals. Can I do 0 minus 3? Ladies and gentlemen, what do I need to do? Borrow. This will become 7. This will become 10. 10 minus 3 is? 7 minus 3 is? 1 minus 1 is? So the measure of angle C should equal 47 degrees. That's all my work. I wrote out the answer correctly with measure of angle C and 47 and degrees. So make sure that this is how you're doing your homework. All right, we're not doing the last example. So this is how your homework should look. For numbers 1 through 9, you're finding the missing angle. All of the missing angles are actually represented by x, not measure of angle whatever. So in this case, you're going to write x equals and then whatever the number is. Remember, the degree symbol is already there, so it's just literally x equals that number because the degree symbol is already there. If you want to put x equals whatever degrees, that's fine too. But for numbers 1 through 9, you need to draw out the entire triangle. Draw out the triangle, draw out the shapes, the measurements, and then add and show all 3 steps of your work. Are we clear? For questions 10 through 12, they want you to draw a triangle that satisfies each set of conditions, then classify the triangle. Since you're basically building a study guide, just drawing the triangle and the 2 classifications doesn't meet the requirements, does it? So what should you be putting in your homework, ladies and gentlemen? The question. You're going to be writing down the question for number 10, 11, and 12. Write out those things word for word. Just a hint, each triangle will have 2 classifications. I already checked. So you were to draw that triangle, and you choose how you want to classify it. So if they're congruent, equilateral, you decide you want to do the little tally marks, you want to actually give it measurements. That's up to you. So please make sure that you do this homework correctly. Otherwise, I will not be signing it. Again, for the notes, quick review. This needs to be in your notes. The area of a triangle, the definition and characteristics of a triangle, and the classification of triangles chart needs to be in your notes. That's all of the vocab. All of the vocab's in there. You just need to do the chart to explain what they are. Okay, everybody clear? All right.